Okay, now in the next lesson we're going to be solving equations for the x variable, okay? But these are going to be a little bit more difficult and more time consuming than what the other one was. We have the square root of 11x minus 24, and then the square root ends and it says equals x. So again, the variable I'm solving for the x, yeah, one of them's inside of a square root. So we're thinking along the same lines of solve for the square root, and then solve for the x. Okay, so the square root's on this side, but there's really nothing outside of the square root, no operations, so we go right to our second power. Okay. Now you're going to then just parenthesize each side and put a second power. Okay. So this side cancels and we have 11x minus 24. Now the issue is with the other side though. It's not just a number you can take to the second power. So when you have a letter, here's what you need to do. When you have a variable to the second power, delete the second power and make another parentheses and just copy the same thing. Okay, so then you take 1x times 1x. I'm going to show that work right over here. 1x times 1x, which is 1, and then x to the second. So that issue's resolved. Now solving for the x. Now we have a game changer. We don't have x only. We have x to the second and x. So you can't use the linear properties anymore. You have to use the factoring properties. Or you could put FP. Now there are two solutions we are looking for. So in factoring properties, as you remember, we have to have one side equal to 0. Now here's the thing. Usually it was that side we got equal to 0. Get the side without the x to the second power equal to 0. And I'm going to repeat that again. Get the side without the x to the second power equal to 0. So what side does not have the x to the second power? This side. So that's the side I'm going to clear. So I need to get rid of both these two things. So I would minus the 11x. And there's no x over there. There's an x second, but not an x. So I just hang it. When we're going from here to here, just hang it behind it. Okay. Then the negative 24, we'd add 24. Now 24 is a constant, so that's going to go here. Now, I put my equals and I put my 0 here where I'm used to having it. Now we have 0, and you can turn this around and then you can just put what you have on the other side over here. You can exchange the two sides. You can clearly do that. Okay? And equals is an equals. It doesn't matter what's on each side. So then x second, then x, then the constant. So this is an easy one. 1, negative 11, and 24. Now, 0's there, okay? You have 3 terms, and that's the GCF table. Although I don't think you will have to do the GCF on any of the problems here today. I know it's a tight fit, okay? So x on the end, no, negative 1, 11, 24 is just 1. So we aren't going to be doing the GCF on many of these. Okay, then 1 times 24 is 24. It's positive, so it's got to be a match. Okay, and the match has to add to negative 11. So put two sides that match and start dividing. So 24 divided by 1 is 24. That adds to negative 25. That's too high. 24 divided by 2 is 12. Negative 2, negative 12 is negative 14. That's too wide. 24 divided by 3 is 8. Add those, you're at negative 11. There you have it. Okay. So then I put in my parentheses. Okay, and a is 1, x to the second power. Don't forget that. So negative 8, 3, negative 8. And the x times the x with the 1. And then you apply the coefficient of 1. Okay. Now 1 and 3 are only divisible by 1, so those will just stay the same. And then only divide those by 1. Take the 1's off the front, and you got it. Okay. So you now have x minus 3 times x minus 8 equals 0. Then F1, F2. So x minus 3 equals 0, x minus 8 equals 0. So we add 3 to each side, we get 3. And we add 8 to each side, and we get 8. Okay. 3 and 8. Now I'm going to illustrate why those are the answers. This is the original. Now I have it twice because I got 2 answers. So I'm going to put 3 for x here and here at the same time. So 11 times 3 minus 24 equals 3. Well, 11 times 3 is 33. And then 33 minus 24 is 9. So the square root of 9 equals 3. Okay, times them. Okay, the square root of 9 equals 3. So that checks. Now, how about the 8? Well, so 11x, that's 11 times 8 minus 24 equals 8. 11 times 8 is 88, and the 88 minus 24 is 64. So the square root of 64 equals 8, and the square root of 64 indeed is 8. Okay, so that's why there are 2 answers there. Okay, that's the only one I'm going to do that on. Okay, the square root of 14x minus 3 equals 4x. Okay, so solve for square root, solve for x. Okay, square root's on this side. There's nothing outside of the square root on that side. So I go right to my second power. So this side cancels and you have 14x minus 3. Now, again, the other side, there's a variable. So what you need to do is just duplicate a parentheses just like it. Okay? And you take 4x times 4x. Do that right here. 4x times 4x be 16x second. Okay? Okay, so then when we go to solve for the x, okay, we have x second and x, so we have to apply factoring properties. So there's 2 answers, okay? But you got to clear one side, get it equal to 0. Again, do that with the side that does not have the x to the second. Keep the x second side and clear this junk. Just trust me. Then you won't have to do the GCF. Because if you clear the x second side, then you'd have a negative in front. Yeah. So you just put everything behind it. So then equals 0. So then we have x second, x constant. So we have 16, negative 14 is my x, and then positive 3. Okay. Okay, now you're at 0. You have a trinomial, 3 terms, so GCF, and then the old table. No x on the end, no negative in the front, and then 16, 14, and 3 on a multiplication table is only 1. I don't have a multiplication table on me. You have one, I hope. Okay, then ABC, the AC product, 16 times 3 is 48, positive. So it's got to be a match, and it's got to add to negative 14. So a match means the signs of the factors have to be the same. 48 divided by 1 is 48. That's negative 49. It's too wide. 48 divided by 2 is 24. That's negative 26. Too wide. 48 divided by 3 is 16. That's negative 19. Still too wide. 48 divided by 4 is 12. Negative 16. Too wide. Close though. 48 divided by 5 is a decimal, and then 6 and 8. 6, 8. Negative 6 plus negative 8 is negative 14, so we have it right. Negative 6, negative 8. And the A is 16x to the second. Okay, so x times x. Put the 16 in front. Okay. Okay, 16 and 6 on a now these have to be definitely simplified because 16 and 6 are both in the second row on a multiplication table. 16 and 8 are in the second, but they're also in the fourth, but they're also in the 8, so you'd want to do the 8. So it's 8x minus 3, and then that's going to be 2x minus 1. Remember, the numbers in front of the x's, the 8 and the 2, should multiply to the a. 8 times 2 is 16. Behind the x's, negative 3, negative 1 should be positive 3. Okay, so we got 8x minus 3 times 2x minus 1 equals 0. Okay. Okay, so 8x minus 3 could equal 0. 2x minus 1 could equal 0. So you add 3 to both sides, that's 3. Okay, 3 divided by 8. You can put that decimal, or you can second PRB it. It just goes back to 3/8. So you can either put 0.375 or you can put 3/8. I don't care. Now this one right here, plus the 1, 2 times x is 1. Divide by 2. 1 divided by 2 is 0.5, or you can second PRB it to 1/2. I don't care. It's up to you. I mean, decimals are fine as long as they're not those ones that go on forever. Okay. Okay, next problem. Solve for square root. Solve for the x. Okay. So nothing's outside the square root, so we go right to our second power. Okay. Put a 1 in front of these of that x right there. Cancels. Okay. So we have 6 minus 1x. Okay. X to the second. So again, when you have a variable and you don't know what the variable is, you just duplicate it. Okay. And then we're going to take 1x times 1x, okay? So 1x times 1x is 1, and then x second, okay? Okay, and you have the same situation. Now it's time to solve for x, but you have x to the second, and you have x. You have to apply your factoring properties, okay? So there's 2 answers, but you have to have 0 on one side. Leave the x second side alone. Clear the side without the x second. So I had minus 6, and I'll just put that behind it. Then I would plus 1x, put that behind it. Now, this is why you need to draw your blanks, because that's not in the order it needs to be in. It's x second, then x, then constant, okay? So 1x second, and then the 1x comes after that, and then the negative 6. Okay. Now I see my trinomial, it'd be GCF table. Even though the GCF's just 1, okay? So we're not going to do it. There's no x on the end there. There's no negative, and then 1 and 6 is just 1. So then my AC product, 1 times negative 6 is negative 6. So that's got to be a mismatch, because for 2 things to multiply to a negative, they have to have a mismatch, a positive and a negative. And the factors have to add to positive 1. Okay. 6 divided by 1 is 6. That adds to negative 5. That can't be right. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 2 plus negative 3 adds to negative 1, so we stop dividing, but to get it to a positive 1, we'll just put a plus on the 3 and a negative on the 2, because now negative 2 plus 3, I mean the signs are still mismatching, but now they add to the right number. It's right here. So negative 2, positive 3, and the a is 1x to the second power. So again, x times x. And then that 1 is applied. So 1 and 2 can't be really simplified. It just stays the same. Take the 1 off the front, though. 1 and 3, okay? Or you can keep the 1 there. I don't really care, okay? 1 and 3 are both in the first row. That's all they're in. So you can divide by 1, but it just stays the same, okay? You don't really need the 1 in front of the x. So you get x minus 2 times x plus 3 equals 0. We have 2. So x minus 2 could equal 0, x plus 3 could equal 0. So I add 2 to both sides, I get 2. Subtract your 3 from both sides, you get negative 3. Okay. Alright, next problem. X equals the square root of 2x plus 24. So you have to solve for your square root. And then you need to solve for your x. Okay. So square root's on this side, nothing outside of it, so I go right to my second power. Okay. So second power and second power. So that side cancels and we have 2x plus 24. Now on the other side we again have that situation where we have the x. So get rid of your second power and just beside it put a parentheses just like it. Okay. So we're just taking 1x times 1x. Okay. And that's 1x second. Okay, so we have that same problem where we have, when we solve for the x, we have x second, but we also have x, so we have to apply the factoring properties. Okay. Again, don't clear this side. Okay, clear the side without the x second. Okay, if you're wondering how come you cleared there, now you're clearing here. Well, where's the x second at? Now it's here, so I cleared the other side. Minus 2x, there's no x, so you hang it. Minus 24, you hang it, and then we still want the equal 0, and x second, x constant. So x second we got 1, x we have the negative 2, and then the constant you got the negative 24. Now you see your trinomial, so GCF table. No x, no negative, 1, 2, and 24 is 1. Okay. So 1 times negative 24 is negative 24. That's going to be a mismatch. It's got to add to the b value, which is negative 2. Okay. So 24 divided by 1 is 24. That's negative 23. That's too wide. 24 divided by 2 is 12. That adds to negative 10. That's too wide. 24 divided by 3 is 8. That adds to negative 5. That's too wide. 24 divided by 4 is 6. And I add those, and that's on the money. That's negative 2. Positive 4, negative 6. Okay, so a is 1x to the second power. Okay. So you got your x times x with the x second. Then we apply the 1 in front. 1 and 4 are only in the 1 row. So you can divide by 1, but it just stays the same. Okay. Take the 1 off the front of the x. Divide by 1, it just stays the same. Okay. Okay, so we have x plus 4 times x minus 6 equals 0. So f1, f2. So x plus 4 could equal 0, x minus 6 could equal 0. So you subtract 4 and you get negative 4. Then you add 6 and you get positive 6. Negative 4, positive 6. Okay, now the next problem, there's going to be something a little bit different, okay? Well, not a lot different, but just one little extra thing. You solve for square root. Solve for the x inside the square root. Okay, again, there's nothing outside the square root, so you go right to your second power, okay? There's no number outside that square root. I don't see anything I would have to add, subtract, or divide, okay? So parenthesize each side. So the side with the square root, we just write 21x plus 1. It cancels. Now again, you have a variable in there, so you need to get rid of the second power and just make another parentheses with the same thing. Put the 1's in front of the x's, but now you have to do the FOIL method because you have a binomial there, 1x and 5, 1x plus 5. So you have to execute the FOIL method. So there's 4 products. So we go 1x to 1x, 1x to positive 5. Take that out, 5 to 1x, 5 to 5. So that's 1x second. This is 5x. This is 5x, and this is 25. Yeah. Okay. So 1 times 1 is 1, x times x second. 1 times 5 is 5, just x. Okay. Now simplify that down here. So you have 1. 5 plus 5 is 10, and then 25. So over here you put 1x second plus 10x plus 25. And now you're to the same part where you were at. Okay. So you have x second and x in the equation. You have to use the factoring properties to find the 2 answers. Okay. Here's the x second over here. Clear this side. But now you don't hang it because minus 21x. 21x would go with 10x. And minus 1, that goes with 25. So equals 0. Then line up your x second, x constant. So 1 is your x second. Now for the x's, you take the 10 minus the 21, and that's negative 11. For the constants, you take the 25 minus the 1, and that's 24. Now you got your trinomial. So GCF and the table. No, x, it's 1 again. Okay. So 1 times 24 is 24 positive, so it's got to be a match. It's got to add to negative 11. 1 and 24, negative 25, that doesn't work. 2 and 12, that's negative 14, that's too high. 24 divided by 3 is 8, and that adds to your negative 11. To save time in the video, I'm just going to give you the numbers on the table. Okay, negative 3, negative 8, and then a is 1x to the second. Put the 1 in front. 1 and 3 only divides by 1. You can divide it by 1, but it just stays the same. You don't need the 1's in front, so we got x minus 3 times x minus 8 equals 0. F1, F2. So x minus 3 could equal 0, x minus 8 could equal 0. Add 3 to both sides, you get 3. Add 8 to both sides, you get 8. 3 and 8. Okay, next one. X plus 1 equals the square root of 7x plus 15. So again, solve for square root. Solve for x. Square root side, nothing outside of it, so we go right to the second power. Square root second cancel out. We just have 7x plus 15. Okay. Now, on the x plus 1 to the second without the square root, you get rid of your second power. You make another parentheses just like it, and you put x plus 1. Now put 1's in front of the x's, and now you will see you have a binomial times a binomial. There's 2 separate terms. That's multiplied by x. That's not multiplied by anything, so you can't add those. You can't add those. So you have to execute the FOIL method. So 1x times 1x. 1x times 1. You've done the FOIL method about 2,000 times. Okay, maybe not that many, but. And then 1 times 1. So it's 1x second, 1x, 1x, and 1. So you got x second, x, and the constant. So 1 is your x second, 1 plus 1 is 2 on the x, and then 1. So you got 1x to the second plus 2x plus 1. Now you solve for x. So we have x second, we got x, we have to use the factoring properties, so there's 2 answers. So everything comes to one side. Clear the side without the x second, okay? minus 7x. Then you won't have a negative in front. That's why you want to clear the side without the x second. And these actually have things to go with here. So we have the 0, then x second, x constant. So x second, you got 1, 2 minus 7 is negative 5, 1 minus 15 is negative 14. Now you see your trinomial. So GCF, and then the table. 1's a GCF, okay. The AC product, 1 and negative 14, that's going to be negative 14, that's a mismatch. Positive, negative, so it's got to add to negative 5, okay. 114 is negative 13, that's too wide. 2 and 7, there's a negative 5, okay. So A is 1x to the second power, okay. And the 1, okay. Those don't do anything, they just stay the same, because the only thing they'd be divisible by is 1. Take the 1's off the front, and we have x plus 2 times x minus 7, okay. F1, F2. So x plus 2 could equal 0, x minus 7 could equal 0. So you subtract the 2 and you get negative 2. You subtract, add the 7 and you get positive 7. So negative 2, positive 7. Okay, next one. Solve this. X minus 6 equals the square root of 3x. Solve for square root. Solve for x. Okay, square root's by itself, so we just go second power. Okay, remember the side with the square root and the second power cancels. You just have the expression 3x. Now, on the other side, you get rid of your second power because you have a variable in there. So then you make another parentheses just like it, x minus 6. 1, 1. So you have it's a binomial times a binomial. Okay. So 1x to 1x, 1x to negative 6. Then negative 6 to 1x, negative 6 to negative 6. 1 times 1's 1, x second, negative 6x, negative 6x, and positive 36. So I simplify this, so you got 1. Negative 12 plus negative 12, negative 6 plus negative 6 is negative 12, and then you have 36. So we have 1x to the second plus negative 12x plus 36. So now it's time to solve for x, but you got x second with x, so that's factoring properties. There's two answers. Okay. Clear the side without the x second. Now that 3 is multiplied by x, and this negative 12 is multiplied by x, so I'd subtract 3 from there. Okay. So we have x second, x constant. So 1, negative 12 minus 3 is negative 15, and then 36. Okay, now you see the three terms. GCF, and then the table. No x, no net, 1's a GCF. 1 times 36 is 36. That's a positive, so that's a match. You're trying to add to get to the b, which is negative 15. 1 and 36, that's negative 37. 36 divided by 2 is 18, that's negative 20. 36 divided by 3 is 12, and there's your negative 15 right there. Okay. Now the a coefficient was 1x to the second, so that's x times x. And then you place the coefficient 1. So we know those aren't going to simplify because they're only going to be in the first row, meaning only divisible by 1. Take the 1's off the front. And we have x minus 3 times x minus 12. F1, F2. So we add 3. And then we add our 12. 3 and 12. Okay, last one. The square root of 44 minus 2x equals x minus 10. Okay, so again, solve for your square root. Solve for your x. Okay. Square root's over here. Nothing going on outside of it, so it's second power. The side with the square root, we cancel, and it's 44 minus 2x. The side without the square root, we'd take it to the second power if we could, but it's got a variable. So then you duplicate the parentheses, x minus 10. So that's a binomial times a binomial. So that's the FOIL method. So 1x to 1x, 1x times negative 10. Negative 10 times 1x, negative 10 times negative 10. So it's 1x second, negative 10x, negative 10x, and positive 100. So now you simplify that. So you got the 1, negative 10 plus negative 10 is negative 20, and then 100. So you have 1x to the second power minus 20x plus 100. Okay, so we've got x second and we've got x. We have to use the factoring properties. Well, this is the side we want to clear. Clear that side. So we get rid of these one at a time. So 44 is a constant, which means we can subtract it from 100. The negative 2x, we'd add 2x to the negative 20x. That is a negative 20. So x second, then the x, then the constant. So 1. Then you combine the negative 20 plus 2, that's going to be negative 18. And then 100 minus 44 is 56. Okay. And there's a trinomial. Okay, 1's a GCF, ABC. 1 times 56 is 56. That's positive, so it's got to be a match. We're trying to add to negative 18. It's negative 57. Negative 30. Divide by 3 is a decimal. 56 divided by 4 is 18, is 14. 56 divided by 4 is 14. Negative 4, negative 14 is negative 18. So 1x to the second, okay? And of course, when 1's the 1 in anything is just 1. So you can take the 1's off. Then you have x minus 4 times x minus 14 equals 0. So x minus 4 equals 0, x minus 14 equals 0. So I add 4, and I get 4. Add 14, and I get 14. So 4 and 14.